Welcome to Amra's Armchair Anecdotes. I'm Amra. Thank you for joining me for Season 1 of Amra's Armchair Anecdotes Highlights Reel. I'd love for you to join me in Season 2, where I continue deep conversations, talking to interesting people, and most importantly, learning. In episode 11 of Amra's Armchair Anecdotes, I interviewed Fikret Pajelic, who also happens to be my husband, and he shared his journey from being a Bosnian refugee to a published author and how exploring his personal trauma became award-winning fiction.
Okay, so I came to Australia as a refugee in 1994, and it took me about 10 years to realize that I suffer from PTSD. That was the time when people weren't talking about mental health issues, especially men. So it took me a while to realize I suffered from, post-traumatic.
Stressing.
At the time, I worked for the Department of Justice, and I witnessed something which was really disturbing, and part of the process was to go through EAP, Employee Assistance Program, and I spoke with a counselor at 2 sessions, and then she suggested that maybe I should put some of my previous experiences in writing, so that in a way you're supposed to deal with it, but it was a bit of a catch-22 for me because, well, I should say, every time I wrote something, I got hurt again. But I kept writing, and she read some of the stuff, and then she said, maybe you should turn some of this stuff into stories or something like that, and like a memoir type of thing. But I wasn't really in the mood to do memoir.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the stuff that I went through, I turned into short stories. So that's kind of how it started. Mm-hmm. But it took a while for me to kind of get them really to a publishing standard. A lot of reading, writing groups, that sort of stuff. So that's how I started.
Episode 12 of Amra's Armchair Anecdotes, I interviewed Tanya Segura, who shared her journey from being a mother of 3 to co-founder of a Cuban dance crew, Rakata, and talking about how a single dance class at 30 completely transformed her life path, and how menopause is leading to a fabulous third act.
But I also think with the crying comes the oracle, the sage, the wise woman, the mentor, and we're not in this veil of estrogen, of juicing. And once that veil drops, we get to own ourselves a little more. We're not about keeping the family, creating the family, because with that, there's always a little bit of self-sacrifice, some compromise, keeping the unit together.
Putting yourself second.
Not even second, not even on a list, write a list of all the people you love. When do you get to write your name on it? And I think there's something in, I don't mean being selfish, but I know that there's a little bit of every day, if you can make someone's life better, that's great. But what if some days it's your life?
Yes. And that's what I'm enjoying, putting myself first, actually listening to my voice, listening to what I want. There's a joke in my house. I'm a bit of a narcissist, turning into a bit of a narcissist. And I'm like, yep. Love it. I want it.
Yeah, I think we should reclaim a little bit of that. And I think in menopause, that's the time.
Yes.
It can be little things like, what do you want for dinner tonight? I don't mind, you cook. Or it could be, I really feel like chicken. Like it's such a little shift. And then there are big things. There are women who are divorcing during this time.
In episode 13, I interviewed Lee Agius, who shared her journey from sculptor to art therapist and her late diagnosis of dyslexia and ADHD, how it provided clarity and compassion.
I guess because I was late in age diagnosed. So when I was a kid, I'm dyslexic, but when I was a kid, it was hard for me to get through the curriculum. So I didn't finish school in time. I left in year 10. I couldn't do year 11 and 12. Once I was in my 20s and I thought, something, I bet I'm dyslexic. Something has to be going on. I didn't actually get myself tested till I was 50, maybe 52. And when I went to get myself tested, this was because I was just like, this is ridiculous. How many times do I have to try to write these words? I just can't remember how to write it. And amongst other things. But when I went for the assessment, they said it came back that I have ADHD as well. So that was a mind-blowing for me. So I don't really identify so much with the ADHD as I do with the dyslexia. And maybe there is lots of crossovers with them as well. But I certainly think that my neurodivergent self can really hold space for other people because I'm neuro-affirming. I respect all people, that everybody's different, that no two people are the same.
In episode 14 of Amra's Armchair Anecdotes, I interviewed Lucas Casper, who shared his journey from skateboarding graffiti artist to internationally recognised muralist, and how he started teaching at 17 and continues his community engagement through school workshops and YouTube tutorials.
Painted the wall and they said, come back next week and bring your ABN. And I was like, yeah, cool. I had no idea what an ABN was. So I went home, signed up for a sole trader ABN. That's how I got my first paid jobs. And I came back and they were like, yeah, you have a job. You're going to come back here once a week and you're going to run like art workshops, graffiti art workshops with the young people. So I became a facilitator, and the age demo that I was working with people that were, 10 years older than me. So I was just like this kid, didn't know how to teach, didn't know what to do, but, they were a really cool place where they realized that the people that should be teaching this stuff are the people that are like part of that world. So I might have been younger, but that was my entire life. So I was in the right spot, wasn't mature enough to teach. A lot of things stumped me. It was crazy.
Episode 15 of Amra's Armchair Anecdotes, I interviewed fantasy author Demet Divaroren about her novel Blood Moon Bride and the way that fantasy can explore themes of oppression and resistance.
I don't like that term, but I can't think of a better one at the moment. But still, I wanted a universal feel to this world. It was really, really important to me. I even made it a point not to describe people in terms of, their skin color or I was really careful not to add any racial identifiers. It was really important. So in that way, it was a huge shift again from Hope Street, which was exploring all of the beauty of culture and it was perfect for that book and it was necessary for that book. But for this one, I was like, it's fantasy, human first. That was my motto. People who were reading this book, I want them to be able to recognize their shared humanity with these characters. So for these characters, their humanity had to come first.
My guest in episode 16 of Amra's Armchair Anecdotes is Nina Nikolic, who is a voice actor and narrator, and we talk about the craft and business of voice work, emotional performances, and how to protect yourself.
And a lot of the time, I can't access. So there's this thing where some people say you can't just be posting all of your work all the time. Like no one wants you to gloat, and no one wants all.
I want you to gloat.
But the thing is,
you're fabulous.
If you don't post the stuff that you've worked on, A, how are people going to know what you've worked on? And B, how are people going to know what it sounds like and what you can bring? How are people going to actually see your performance in various things if they haven't played that game or they haven't done this or whatever?
Do things and release them and just whatever happens, happens.
So that's where the best work comes from.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I do feel like in general, the auditions that have been the most successful, there's a thing in like the voice actor world specifically of like the set and forget mentality of the ones that you just kind of throw away are like the ones that always work out. Like you'll be sick as a dog and this audition comes in and you're just like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do what I can and I'm going to send it.
In episode 17, I interviewed poet and filmmaker Coralie Dimitriadis to unpack gatekeeping, creative autonomy, and how to build a writing life that answers to the work, not the establishment.
I think that being an artist and a writer is a very hard profession.
Yeah.
I've worked in IT. And I've gone and I've worked and I've got my paycheck and I've gone home. And no, it's not hard. This is hard. This is hard. It's very hard on so many different levels to be an artist. And people understand that it is very difficult. It's a very difficult profession. And actually a writer I admire once said to me, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yes.
And so when I'm having those hard days, I always think that, well, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And I'm doing it. And I should be proud of the fact that I'm doing it.
Well, that's, for me, my success has been that I have achieved longevity.
Yes.
That 20 years of, trying, 28 years probably, of, publishing and working at it, I'm still doing it. But having said that, I have no choice.
It is my oxygen.
Yeah. And it's so interesting as well, because my novel that I was talking to you about before, that has been rejected from, every publisher in Australia, right? And I know it's going to get published one day. I just know. And I know why it hasn't, because it's really controversial. But when I was in Cyprus recently, I was having discussions with producers and the Cypriot funding bodies about changing this novel that has never been published into a film. And it's like, I was sitting there going, how is this possible? Or even like when I was in London talking to a London theatre about my theatre show, and I can't even get it staged here, and there's interest. And I just go, wow, like it's so interesting that I can't have that support here and I have to go like abroad to get it.
In episode 18, I sat down with Dr. Catherine Firth to unpack the 3-minute thesis competition and how it turns complex research into clear human story. We talked about the competition and me as a winner of the 3-minute thesis competition for La Trobe in 2025.
Before it is my main advice. There's so much to be gained, in terms of understanding your own project, in terms of connecting with other people, in terms of getting encouragement, in terms of building your skills, whether you're interested in academic progression, or going out into industry, or just, when people say, so tell me about your research, instead of going, at a barbecue, oh, don't worry about it, nobody would understand it. You're like, actually, I've got a really good version. Do you want to hear it? It's got jokes in it. So whatever, or not in your case, but I have a novel that you could read that I highly recommend, Time Kneels Between Mountains. But you have ways of kind of connecting your research to other people. So nothing to lose, everything to gain. It's a really affirming process. It's scary, but it's also so rewarding. So definitely go out, have a go. 3-minute thesis. I mean, I've been championing it for years and years, because I see just how good it is and just how good it is for candidates. And so, anybody who's listening, have a go.
Episode 18 was very special as I interviewed my best friend Veronica about our long-time friendship, about how weightlifting has become her therapy and why boundaries matter.
Well, I just don't, it's not that I don't care. I still do care deeply, but recognizing that it is about me and I can say no and I will say no. And I have said no, which is, for anyone that knows me again, knows how hard that is. And there's nothing wrong with saying no. Say yes to those that love you and care for you. And, everyone in my life, if I called them and I was on the other side of the world, I know that they'd be there in a heartbeat, and vice versa. And they're the only people I need in my life. But in perimenopause, I don't know what it is. I love it. Knows they love it.
The freedom that it gives you, where you just shed things so much easier. Episode 20, I shared Antoinette's story of premature ovarian insufficiency at 41, the harm of being dismissed, and the relief and clarity that came with being on hormone replacement therapy. So there's a lot of that negativity, and then as soon as the hormone replacement therapy, oh my gosh, tell me about the transformation with you.
I remember this so vividly. I will never forget this day of my life. This beautiful doctor that I've been seeing said, there's no question about it. You are eligible for HRT. So let's begin the treatment. She said, this is going to make a world of difference for you. Honestly, at that point, I didn't believe anything was going to work. I thought, this is it. This is my life. I'm just going to be miserable forever and I have to deal with it. But I remember day 4, I woke up and I was feeling joy.
Yes.
Just to be alive, just
Yes.
to see my children running around the house.
Yes.
I actually put on this amazing, colourful dress that I've never worn for a very long time because I wanted to wear colour. I felt bright. Life felt brighter. There was a buzz within me. Like I was excited to just begin the day. And I said, okay, this is what everyone's been talking about. This joy is coming back.
Thank you for joining me for Season 1 of Amra's Armchair Anecdotes Highlights Reel. I'd love for you to join me in Season 2, where I continue deep conversations, talking to interesting people, and most importantly, learning.